Hi class, I'm at a funeral today and have made a video to hopefully help you learn about our lesson today. As a warm-up, I would like you to write the fraction in simplest form. Do not change the improper fractions to mixed numbers. Please pause the video and allow students time to do the 8 problems. Please also take attendance. Hopefully you have had a chance to look at the problems and simplify the fractions. Number 1, we divide both by 24 for the fraction of 1/2. In the second one, we divide both by 16 and we get 4/3. In number 3, we divide both by 6 and get 5/4. In problem number 4, we divide both by 3 and get 3/7. In number 5, we divide both by 9 and get 5/7. Problem number 6 is already simplified, so it is 10/41. In problem 7, we divide both by 12 and get 12. And in our last one, we divide both by 5 and get 10/7. Please hand out the small slip of homework form from the basket on the front desk. Students, please copy down the answers from your homework for problems 18, 22, and 34. Please turn those into the basket. When everyone has turned those in, please show the answers on the following slides. Please pause the video until all students have turned in their homework form. Here are the answers for your homework. Problem number 8, the answer is $28. Problem number 10, the answer is 57 miles. Problem number 12, the ratio in simplest form is 9/4. Problem number 14, the ratio of correct to incorrect is 17:3. For problem number 16, the ratio of feet to feet is 14:27. Number 18, the answer is 32 miles per gallon. Number 20, the unit rate is 80 cents per can. For number 22, we get 8 7/10 meters per hour. The answer to number 24 is 3.6 feet per year. For number 26, the rate of population change per year is 2.4 million per year. Number 28A, the point 122 represents the cost of $122 for 4 tickets. B, the cost is $30.50 per ticket. And C, the cost of 10 tickets is $305. For number 30, the 4-pack costs $2.87 per container. The 6-pack costs $2.80 per container. The 9-pack costs $2.55 per container. Therefore, the lowest unit rate is the 9-pack, so it is the best buy. The answer to number 32 is the oil spill covers 300 square meters in 2 hours. Our last problem on the homework, mulch to gravel. The answer of mulch to gravel is 108 pounds of mulch and 64 pounds of gravel. Today's lesson deals with proportions. The essential question for today is, how can proportions help you decide when things are fair? Our first example, I would like for you to please work with someone near you to determine whether the 2 ratios are equivalent. If they are not equivalent, change the next day to make the ratios equivalent. Please explain your reasoning. Please pause the video to allow the students time for this task. In problem A, these two ratios are equivalent. On the first day, it costs $2.50 per box, and the next day is also $2.50 per box. For our next example, I also want you to work with a partner. It is said that 1 year in a dog's life is equivalent to 7 years in human life. Explain why Newton thinks he has a score of 105 points. Did he solve the proportion correctly? Please pause the video and allow students to talk about this. In the first example, 1 year is 15 points. 7 times 15 is 105 points. Therefore, Newton does have a correct score of 105, and he did solve the proportion correctly. If Newton thinks he scored 98 points, how many points does he actually have? Please explain your reasoning. Please pause the video for students to take time. If Newton thinks his score is 98 points, Newton actually got 14 points correct. Our final task is that you work with someone near you. Write a ratio for each sentence and then compare the ratios. If they are equal, then the answer is it is fair. If they are not equal, the answer is it is not fair. Please pause the video to allow students to solve these 3 problems. Problem number 1 is not fair. Letter B is fair, while letter C is not fair. Please turn to a neighbor and explain this prompt. One way to decide if 6 hours for $4.80 is the same rate as 10 hours for $8 is... Hopefully you came up with writing each comparison as a ratio and finding unit rates. In this case, each one, 480 divided by 6 would be 80 cents per hour. $8 divided by 10 would also be 80 cents per hour. Our first key idea is a definition of a proportion. A proportion is an equation stating that two ratios are equal. Two quantities that form a proportion are proportional. In our example, 2 is to 3 as 4 is to 6. They both simplify to 2/3, and they are a proportion and proportional. In our first example, we are to tell whether 6/4 and 8/12 form a proportion. Therefore, we must compare the ratios in simplest form. When we do that, we divide the top one by 2 and get 3 halves. We divide the second one by 4 and get 2/3. Therefore, the ratios are not equivalent, so 6/4 and 8/12 do not form a proportion. In our next example, we are to determine whether x and y are proportional. We can use any of the numbers available. Compare each x ratio to the y in simplest form. 1/2 to 3 simplifies to 1/6 because we times 1/3. The second one is 1/6. 3 halves to 9 simplifies to 1/6. And 2/12 simplifies to 1/6. Therefore, the ratios are equivalent, so x and y are proportional. Please allow the students a minute or two to determine whether the ratios form a proportion. Pause the video to allow students work time. Also determine whether the birdhouses built and nails used are also proportional. In 1, they are proportional. Number 2 is not proportional. Number 3 is also not proportional. Number 4 is proportional, as well as number 5 is proportional. So as we have learned, one way in order to determine whether a ratio is proportional is to simplify the fraction. A second way deals with using cross products. In the proportion A over B equals C over D, the products A and D and B and C are called cross products. The cross products of a proportion are equal. As you can see in our example, 2 times 6 is 12. That equals 3 times 4, which is also 12. In algebra terms, A times D does equal B times C, as long as B does not equal 0 and D does not equal 0. In our next example, you swim your first 4 laps in 2.4 minutes. You complete 16 laps in 12 minutes. Is the number of laps proportional to your time? One of the things that we must first learn is how to set up a proportion. In this case, we compare unit rates. We put 2.4 minutes over 4 laps equals 0.6 minutes for 1 lap. That is simplified. When we compare this, we must have 12 minutes to 16 laps, just like in the first one. Therefore, we have 0.75 minutes for 1 lap. These rates are not equivalent. If we were to do the same thing using cross products, we would set up our proportion 2.4 minutes over 4 laps equals 12 minutes over 16 laps. We could switch these around and put 4 laps over 2.4 minutes and 16 laps over 12 minutes if you wish. When we do the cross multiplying, we get 4 times 12 is 48, and 16 times 2.4 is 38 and 4/10. Since those do not equal, the cross products are not equal, so the number of laps is not proportional to the time. Our next example, you read the first 20 pages of a book in 25 minutes. You read 36 pages in 45 minutes. Is the number of pages you read proportional to your time? First, set up the proportion 20 pages over 25 minutes equals 36 pages over 45 minutes. When we use the cross product method, both of our answers equal 900. Therefore, the answers are proportional. Please determine whether these two rates form a proportion. Remember, you can do simplifying the fraction or you can do the cross product. Please pause the video to allow students time to work. In the first one, the answer is yes. Number 2 is no. Number 3 is also no. And number 4 is yes. As a final thing that I want you to do, please write an example of 2 ratios that are equal. Explain how you know they are equal. Write an example of 2 ratios that are not equal. Also explain how you know they are not equal. Please turn to a friend and tell them your 2 equal ratios as well as your not equal ratios. In closing, there are 2 ways that you can determine if a ratio is proportional. The first way is to simplify the fraction or get the unit rate. The second is using cross products. Please do your homework, page 174 and 175, problems 2 through 32 even only. Make sure that you either show the ratio simplified with the unit rate, or you show what each one of the cross products multiply together to equal. Thanks. I will see you on Tuesday.